Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. And now to honor America, please join in the singing of our national anthem. Representing the three-time Stanley Cup champion New Jersey Devils, Arlette.
I feel like I'm at a game. Oh my gosh. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Beat Devils Sunday! Yeah, I forgot to turn down the music. You're Baron. Yeah,
but
I forgot to turn down the music.
It felt like it went nice. There was a nice transition. It was a nice little flow. I apologize if it sounds like there's a gusher in the background or a water main break in the background. Just my sink. It's just my sink.
The sink? The sink? Is that what they call it?
The sink.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's what's expected to be thrown in for Erik Karlsson. But you know.
Oh,
so
the
name of the show tonight. The name of the show tonight is Will Erik Karlsson become a New Jersey Devil?
Yeah, I had to put a clickbait type headline for the podcast because we need ratings. We need ratings. I mean, this is the Let's Go Devils podcast, episode 1. No, season 1, episode 40. I got it all mixed up. Got it all mixed up. Yeah. Season 1, episode 40.
Yep.
Well, I'll
Yep.
Hey, you did all the research of the show. I just put the show together, but you did all the research. I read some of this stuff. I didn't want to read it, and then it just dawned on me, like today, I should have read it because we do a podcast, you know?
I think first of all, I think my thumb is broken for the amount of times that I've hit the refresh button on my my Twitter account. It's just since July 1st, it's been nonstop. And I have to start off by saying this. To all the Devil fans out there, relax. Just relax, man. It's going to be okay. I know Patrick Maroon is another person that you can add to the list that's not going to be coming back. I was really hoping that he would come back, but it looks like he's going to be signing in his hometown. A lot of guys like to go back home. That's okay. So it looks like he's going back to St. Louis, which, hey, listen, that happens. You know, I don't think that Ray is just sitting on his hands and letting the offseason kind of just like go to waste. So just chill out, relax. Something's going to happen. We're going to break down Eric Karlsson debate / rumors / whatever / the fact that the Devils have been mentioned as the third team to take on some of the salary dump. There's also been a rumor that the Devils are trying to get their hands on Kucherov.
There's all sorts of rumors. There's all sorts of rumors, man.
This. Yeah.
So
Douglas Walker's already chimed in. He said we need defense. Yeah, we definitely do. Kevin says no. Listen, I mean honestly, Patrick Maroon's going to sign with St. Louis. Gibbons signed with Anaheim. Grabner signed with Arizona. Trying to think of any of our other UFA. John Moore signed with Boston. There's a reason why that Ray is not bringing some of these guys back. There's a reason why you let some guys, go and venture out into different places. Some of them just want to. I mean, that's just the end of it. I feel like I agree. We need defense. I 100% agree. So you got to think that there's something going on in behind the scenes that, Shiro's trying to do, that he's trying to bring back a defenseman.
I'll tell you what my thoughts are. All right. I'm allowed to interrupt you, but these are my thoughts. And let's just go back to the beginning when we said that the New Jersey Devils are rebuilding. And we have to remember that, folks. They are ahead of schedule. I think it was a pleasant surprise this season. Was it a fluke? I don't think it was a fluke. But what Ray Shiro's doing, as I dissect what he's done so far, he's really, his early moves are actually kind of rebuilding the AHL team a little bit, bolstering that, putting the foundation, because they took a lot of players out of the AHL last year. And the ones that should be there, played full time. They earned their keep, but I just think that he doesn't want to get ahead of himself by making a stupid signing and losing that cap space, which is leverage for bigger trades down the road. So, and although as a fan, I'm also kind of like, okay, when you tell me that you got to save some cap space, re-sign Hall and all these guys, my first thing as a fan, I just want to say, spend money. Why are you being so cheap? But I said that with Lou Lamoriello back in the 90s too. Yeah, so,
all right, let's break down that comment. Spend money. Everybody's chomping at the bit. Oh, Shiro isn't doing anything. He's not doing anything. To address Matthew in the Facebook group, he said that was the first that he heard that rumor about the Devils possibly wanting Kucherov. Let me just put it out there. We have many different sources. A lot of the times you get a little bit of a tidbit of information. You have to dissect it and figure out if it's true or not. From my understanding, it's been floated out there that what the Devils are going to do are going to be the third team to facilitate this trade to get Karlsson down into Tampa Bay. And one of the pieces that would be coming back to New Jersey would be Callahan with his terrible contract, with the two years remaining on his contract. From what I understand, the New York Rangers were asking about Kucherov and asking for a lot more in return, and then they got turned down. And then the Devils stepped in and kind of said the same thing. Oh, like, hey, we're not going to just take on Callahan and his terrible contract. We want to have, either Tyler Johnson or, we know that Kucherov is coming up on a contract here soon. Let's talk about that too. So all speculation, guys. It's all 100% speculation. This is what happens when you have a big name that's being floated around. When you have a huge superstar that is going to be transferring teams. The amount of crap that comes flowing in and the amount of truth, it's like 100 to 1. You know what I mean? So you get like a little tiny piece of information. You really have to kind of take it with a grain of salt. Who knows what the hell they want back? Who knows if the Devils are even a third team in this conversation? It's all, it's all whatever right now. Until the ink is dry on a contract, we don't know what's going to happen. But from all accounts, it seems like he is going to be going to Tampa Bay, and whether the Devils help out with that is going to be another thing. When Vatanen went down in Tampa series, it showed. Yeah. So, by the way, I'm going to be reading a lot of comments on our Facebook group. If you're on the Twitter group, or if you're on Periscope or any of our other outlets, please bear with us.
Well, why don't we actually break it down? We're on Let's Go Devils podcast on Facebook. We're at Let's Go Devils Pod on Twitter and Periscope. We also have a YouTube channel on YouTube Live. We're also on letsgodevils.com live streaming the audio, and we'll have the podcast at the end of the show. So, but going on, Beer Baron, I mean, we got a lot of people tuning in right now in the Facebook Live. But go ahead. Didn't want to interrupt you.
No, that's all right. Callahan's contract isn't terrible because it's a $5.5 million hit. His production is terrible, and I'd have to pull up the exact numbers, but I think he's put up like 7 goals in the last 2 years or something like that. The fact is Callahan 10 years ago was like one of my favorite players, even though he was playing across the river. He would have been a huge asset for this team. All that is you're just helping facilitate. You're going to get Callahan, and then you'll get a lot of other things to go with it, whether that be extra picks or whether it be, prospects that are blue chip prospects. Because the thing is what the Devils don't want to do, if they are the third team in this, in this whole deal, is they don't want to take on a contract of a guy and then also take on somebody that's already, hit their ceiling. Meaning, like, you don't want to take on a prospect who is going to be limited in what he's able to do or what he's going to become in the NHL. We have too many of those guys that float around the AHL all the time that put up decent numbers in the AHL, come to the NHL and can never put up what they do in the AHL. So they have to be smart. And to be honest with you, like, if anything has been shown or proven by Ray Shero, it's that everything is very calculated. Everything is very calculated. Look at all the moves that he's done. Everybody complains and bitches and moans like, oh, free agency comes and goes. If you want to play, overpay for JVR, like of course I was saying, like, I would love to have him on the team, but at what price? You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to sit there and overpay for a dude just to bring him in because you need to make a move. You don't need to make a move. You know what I mean? Like, we need to shore up that defense and we need to make a few adjustments here and there, but necessarily you don't need to make a move in free agency. Don't sign Calvin DeHaan for the sake of signing Calvin DeHaan. Do you know what I mean? Like, you want to improve the defense. Great. Listen, because he went to Carolina, now Justin Falk might be on the trading block. So there's things that happen, and if you're patient, sometimes if you don't jump the gun and start signing people right away, other things can develop. That's all I'm saying. And, nobody wants Bobby Ryan's horrible contract.
You see, that's the thing. I hate bad signings. I'd rather do nothing to have a bad signing or a bad trade. I want more of Taylor Hall trades, to be honest, but they're not exactly easy to do.
Taylor Hall, 1-for-1, dude. That was a blind robbery.
Yeah, I mean, Edmonton made him very. We could debate that all day long, but the bottom line here is Ray Shero has time on his side. This was supposed to be a 5-year rebuild. And I don't think anybody expected this team to be in the playoffs last season. And right now, they have John Hines locked up long-term. Obviously, Ray Shero is locked up long-term. They have job security right now. They're going to do it the right way. And, just judging by Ray Shero in Pittsburgh, other than the core of Sidney Crosby or Evgeny Malkin and Letang, and Marc-Andre Fleury, he didn't really overspend on players coming in. I mean, he made some shrewd trades.
No, he did, and he's not afraid to make the big move too. Keep in mind he brought in Marian Hossa to that Pittsburgh team. He sent out Adam Henrique, who is arguably one of the fan favorite Mr. Devil himself kind of deal. He he's not afraid to shake things up to bring in an important piece. Everybody killed him in trade until it got to playoff time, and then he saw how valuable Sammy Vatanen was. And somebody in our group over here brought up, when Vatanen went down, it really exposed how bad the D was, and you really want to see them address that. The defensive core, letting John Moore go. I mean,
well, the money, the contract John Moore got, I let him go. I would let him go at that when he got Boston, and I'm very happy that he got some financial security and a good team to go to. But honestly, the New Jersey Devils, I don't think Ray Shero should have ever given that kind of contract to John Moore.
No,
because
I like John Moore a lot. I really do. There's a lot of times where he became a defensive liability, and that's the problem. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he did score some overtime goals. Yeah, he was clutching a lot of plays. He's a nice guy. He's a great player, and a serviceable defenseman. But at the money that he wanted, exactly. I don't think it was a smart move to try and bring him back. Great, he's in Boston. Good for him. Brian in our Facebook group says Shero did say he didn't want to be the Oilers. Excuse me, the Oilers of last year, where you make the playoffs and then the following year you don't. You know how you miss the playoffs the following year after you make the playoffs? By making stupid decisions, by making rash decisions. You know what? Like, we jokingly used to say, like, before Tavares hit the market, all of us, of course, we dreamed about having John Tavares on the Devils. That would be amazing. And we talked about it at length. But at the same time, like, we knew it wasn't going to happen. Then you look down the list. Karlsson, he was the one guy that I was really looking forward to and hoping that the Devils would land. But Washington made their move. They got rid of Orpik's contract. They're able to bring in Karlsson, and just keep on to him. And then after that, it was like, all right, well, JVR would be nice, but at the right price. DeHaan would be nice, but at the right price. And I think from all accounts, you got to believe that Shero went out there and kicked the tires on all these guys and had a conversation. Hell, I know he had a phone conversation with John Tavares' camp. It was basically politely told, like, listen, it's coming down to two teams, and that's really what it's just coming down to. And, everybody and their mother kind of saw that coming. It's just, in all honesty, I feel like something's on the horizon. He's bringing in a lot of guys that are rebuilding that farm system. There's going to be some guys that are going to make it out of camp. Joey Anderson and, Steve Santini is going to make a big step, I think, next year. There's going to be a lot of guys that are younger that are going to come up and make their dues. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes as a fan, we want instant gratification, and we want that guy that's going to come in, step into the lineup, and be an instant fix, and we're going to be a cup contender right away. This is a building process, and if you do it the correct way, you will have long sustainability. And anybody that's freaking out thinking that Taylor Hall is going to bounce out of Jersey the first chance that he gets, I wouldn't jump to that conclusion.
Who's making up that stuff? Who's saying that stuff?
I'm just saying, listen, if you go on Twitter or if you go on social media and you listen to all, like, a lot of Devil fans, just the sky is falling, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. Just
sorry, I had to play that.
That's all right. I'm sorry. I'm just reading through. Larson.
Well, as you read it through, I still have to rant about this.
I'm sorry.
Whether the Devils get go ahead.
No. I'm just laughing because in a Facebook group, Rob said, "I still believe Boyle was the demise of Rico. Once he signed, it was over." Is that because Boyle became so popular that Adam Henrique was like was let go because of that?
Yeah, we have another cult hero, right, in New Jersey.
Yeah, Steve is saying time to bring the youth movement. Will Erickson be a Jersey? Gio said, will Erickson become a New Jersey Devil? That was the name of our show tonight. He said, quick answer, no. Long answer, no. Exactly, and I agree 100% with that. Douglas Walker, Santini time. Can't make mistakes if you don't make any moves. Plus, you get the sense that they may give Joey Anderson and McLeod a shot, which is basically what we're saying. Is like it seems like they're in the let's go with the youth movement kind of movement. You know what I mean? That's a weird statement to say, but Joey Anderson has been doing a lot to prove himself in the World Juniors and proving himself in outside of the NHL, where you feel like he is going to have a solid shot. Mikey McLeod, all things assuming that he's going to come in and he's going to be ready to go, is going to be good. Is going to be good to go. Our first round pick this year, Ty Smith, is going to be like a couple years away, but there's another defenseman that's going to be in the system that's going to be working his way up. We don't have to panic, and there's always time. It's not October.
But I gotta tell you though, I've been reading the Facebook groups, message boards. If Karlsson comes to New Jersey, looking at the pairings, I mean, to have Vatanen and Karlsson on the same team with Will Butcher, Andy Green, and Severson, to round out the top six defensemen, it instantly makes the Devils' blue line a two-way blue line. They can play defense and also they can score and get more involved in the offense, get more involved in the power play. I mean, they got ran over. They got ran over by Tampa, especially after Vatanen went down. I mean, they couldn't keep up. But it makes me feel awesome if the Devils could do that. Now, here's the other thing. How many years does he have left on his contract? Is it 1 year before he's a UFA?
Who's
you
that?
Can always get him. No, I'm talking about Erik Karlsson.
Oh, Karlsson. Yeah. He's got 1 year left.
He's got 1 year left. It's the same thing. It's like, well, do we wait a year or do we give up a lot to get him for 1 year and possibly lose him then? Because I would hate for that to happen.
Well, and that's the biggest thing is right now, whatever team, and I don't mean to jump on you, whatever team is going to get Erik Karlsson, and look, Dallas looks like it was a front runner for a minute. Tampa Bay was a front runner for a minute. I heard the Atlanta Thrashers offered him $100 billion to be on their team. Sorry, I saw that on Twitter and I cracked up. But whatever team gets him, he has to basically what the structure of the agreement is Karlsson has to agree to a contract extension before he is moved. So basically, let's say for all purpose sakes that there is no other third team. There's just like a 1-for-1 deal, and Tampa Bay and Ottawa want to trade, let's say, Kucherov for Karlsson. Karlsson would have to agree to the contract extension before going to Tampa Bay and having the trade facilitate both teams. With all that being said, there is many different things that are supposedly holding up this deal. That being one of them. Supposedly the Rangers were one of the third team. They didn't want to take on a bunch of the garbage that the Tampa Bay was trying to throw at them, which is really funny considering that, the relationship that Tampa Bay has with the blue shirts across the river. But honestly, I feel like if anything is going to happen, technically, if you think about it, it doesn't have to happen until February 28th, which is the trade deadline. So Ottawa doesn't have to move Karlsson until then. And if they do move him, if they move him, and they can move him, tonight, or they can move him tomorrow, whatever happens, I doubt, and I highly doubt, that he's going to be wearing black and red. So anybody that's on that, Erik Karlsson is going to come here and save the day. Think about it two ways. Number one, if he did come to the Devils, the amount that you would have to give up to get him could put the future in jeopardy. And not for nothing, you bring him in, yeah, he shores up your defense. He doesn't instantly make you a cup contender. You know what I mean? Like, there's way too many things that they need to fill, and there's way too many like gaps that they need to kind of figure out. That I don't think that one Erik Karlsson is going to make that difference. Don't also forget, Corey Schneider is going to be out for the first, I think, month of the season. from what I understand. That's why they signed Eddie Lack. That's why they're bringing Eddie Lack in as like kind of an insurance plan. So Kincaid's going to be carrying the torch. There's a lot of things. You got to hope that the team starts off hot. They're playing their home opener overseas, and then they're coming back home. So there's a lot of traveling going on. Just hope that they come out hot and they remain consistent for a while. Don't try to worry about Erik Karlsson.
To tell you the truth, I'm not going to lose any sleep over if Erik Karlsson goes anywhere but New Jersey Devils. I mean, it's just too big of a price to pay to bring him to New Jersey. I mean, the Devils have something good going on here. They've got a young nucleus that's growing together. They finally made the playoffs. Now it's how do the New Jersey Devils go from here? Right now, they're rebuilding the farm system. They drafted Ty Smith. How long is it going to take for him to come up to the NHL? We don't know yet. But I'll tell you, this Karlsson, even if the Devils had the chips to go in and get him, it's timing is everything. I mean, really, timing is everything. I think it's just I think it's too big of a risk to risk what happened last year, getting in the playoffs, a winning culture, finally back in New Jersey. You know what? I would stay the course, status quo, in Ray we trust, and rebuild that farm system, and then somehow manage the salary cap to have that leverage. Because I'm telling you, when you have that much salary cap space, you could be a troll of trades, driving up the price for other teams when they're trying to re-sign their players. I mean, having salary cap space is actually, it's what huge. I call it. You could be a troll. I mean, and you're in every single trade rumor because you got so much space to eat up people's contract, or you could eat up one guy's contract that they're trying to get rid of. Say Ryan Callahan. Okay, well, what do you get? Well, throw in a couple first rounders, and I like eating that contract. That. I know. I'm joking, but it'd be a little over exaggerating. But it's just having that salary cap space is like really a weapon, and we really didn't see that with Lou very often, where he had that space to leverage against other teams. And not only that, let me also throw this thing out there, and I'm not saying Ray Shero would do it, but it was done to him, if you remember. No, it wasn't done to him. It was done by the Flyers to Vancouver a while back, maybe about 10 years ago with Ryan Kessler. You could sign an RFA with salary cap space. You could go all out and drive that price where you force that team to make a decision. You never know. You just never know with that at all.
100%. And one of the things that salary cap space gives you is it gives you an opportunity to go to another team that is completely strapped for, they're basically in salary cap hell, where they're like pressed up against it. They have guys coming up that need big contracts, and that's where we got Johansson from. Is you go into Washington, you say, hey, you guys need to clear up some space. He's a good, a solid player. We'll give you like a fourth rounder for him or whatever, and then we'll take him on. And pretty much it's like you get to leverage a deal. You know what I mean? So you don't have to give up as much to get something, decent in return. Honestly, this is the part that drives me crazy is you see how many people start to bug out or freak out like, Ray Shero's not doing anything. The world's coming to an end. The Devils are going to be terrible. This, that, and the other thing. Last year is not going to happen again. And blah, 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 blah. There is so many little things that could happen from now until the beginning of the season. There's certain players that could be moving. There's certain things that could be happening. You look at teams like Toronto. Toronto is stacked. Like that is now a team in the East that is going to be one of the best teams in the East, hands down, with getting Tavares and just kind of the way they've kind of manipulated that team and got it together. You look at a team like Tampa Bay, who's still super good. If they get Karlsson, that's going to make them crazy good. Are you going to get into an arms race with these teams? What I'm trying to get to is, are you going to get into an arms race with these teams right away? or do you just keep building, keep doing it the right way, keep letting your farm system cultivate? And I know a lot of people will scream and yell and punch their computer screen and just be like, listen, we want to win now. How the hell is this going to help us win a cup anytime soon? These are the moves that help you build a franchise that you can move some of these pieces that you acquire, or some of the players that you are cultivating, and you can get something back for it. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't have anything to give up, what the hell are you going to get back? So I feel like you just trust the process, trust where Ray's going. I think everything is going to work itself out. I do not think Erik Karlsson is going to be a Devil. I would be shocked if that were to happen. Look at speaking of RFAs, by the way, we'll touch on how Blake Coleman and I think maybe Blake Coleman and one other guy filed for arbitration, which I'm pretty sure will be cleared up in no time. Stefan Nason was the other one that filed for arbitration. There's other players that are going to file for arbitration. I think Trouba out of Winnipeg filed for arbitration, which would be a nice, somebody for the Devils that they could target. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just, I can't say this enough. Just be patient, be patient.
Well, Joe says in the Facebook Live group, by the way, Kevin Shattenkirk was apparently the prize of last year's UFAs. How did that work out?
It's a great point.
It's a great point, and there's already like five reactions that are smiley faces, right? Like laughing out loud. The Devils could very well have been regretting that signing if he came to New Jersey. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. And you know what? Apparently, I think did Ray Shero actually try to put in a bid, but it just didn't work out.
Smart about it.
He wanted to go to New York. Yeah.
He was smart about it. He offered him what he felt was an appropriate amount. And Shattenkirk actually took less and went to the Rangers, supposedly. Right? So he took less and went to the Rangers. Now, that was another one of those, hey, it was my hometown team when I grew up and I slept in the bed sheets of the Rangers and blah, 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 blah. Whatever. When they didn't get him, that was just one of those things that that was it. They didn't get him, and then you're 100% right. It worked out in the Devils' favor. They ended up not needing him. They could have used him, but whatever. But it would have been a costly contract to bring on. So you move on. If you don't get the new shiny toy, you move on. You can't sit there and lament about things that weren't. You know what I mean? Like, you can't sit back and be like, damn it, we didn't get JVR. He went to Philadelphia, and that's going to haunt us. It's not going to haunt you. You know what I mean? You just move beyond and just keep going. You know what I mean? Like, something else is going to happen. There's no Will Butcher this summer. You know what I mean? There's no college UFA that's going to be out there. So you trust the process. Look at what he's done with this team so far. You know what I mean? Everybody that's listening right now, if you want to look at something really interesting, look up what the roster was when Ray Shero took over this team. Look up what that roster looked like. Wow. It is shocking to see how many dead contracts were on that team. How many just like guys past their prime. Of course, Yager left the Devils and had a couple good years in Florida, but I mean, he was handed pretty much a mess. And let's see what he did. He, brings in Vatanen, brings in Taylor Hall, who, is now the reigning MVP, brings in Kyle Palmieri, which is such an underrated get by him as well. Moves certain things around and is rebuilding this team the right way. We got super lucky that the Devils got Nico Hischier, but it was just one of those things that just kind of like fell into place. This team is going in the right direction. Don't rush the process and don't try to look for the next thing that's going to fix it.
Hey, I got something to tell you. I'm getting. Did we break Facebook Live on the mobile devices? I think it went back up because I'm getting some text messages of friends from both Android phones and iPhones that the feed they can't even see the feed, that they're getting error messages from Facebook. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I'm watching it.
I didn't think we were that popular. But
we're pretty damn popular tonight.
Yeah, well, we're talking about Erik Karlsson. Hey, by the way, I think we should start doing some shameless plugs. You want to do a plug of monetizing on the show
Yeah.
for all the people?
Let's,
Well,
you go
Shorts
ahead.
guy's not here. Shorts guy's not here, but I got to be a snake oil salesman and talk about our T-shirt. This Let's Go Devils podcast T-shirt. You can buy it. Well, I don't even have the link right now, but you could buy it in our. Here, let me just cut to my feed. One sec. You can buy this at Shorts Guy's web store. That's somewhere on the internet. We'll have to find that link or text them to put that up. Shorts Guy, by the way, is on assignment somewhere in New York. It's a very dangerous assignment, a special assignment. So he's not here with us today. So that's why I'm filling in. But normally I'm behind the scenes. But this Let's Go Devils podcast T-shirt, I would love to see everybody at the Prudential Center wearing our podcast T-shirt because why? Well, it helps. It helps spread the message of the podcast.
I tell you what, I need to give a big special shout out to my father-in-law Jeff, who's watching right now, and to Tavern on the Rocks in Rockaway, New Jersey, which is one of the greatest bars in the entire East Coast. Hosted one of our live events there, and it was an incredible time. Anybody that's in the Rockaway area or anybody that's in the vicinity of New Jersey should take a pilgrimage over to the Tavern on the Rocks. It's a great
9 Wall
establishment.
Street.
9 Wall Street.
Not Hall Street. We're working with the town trying to rename the street to Hall Street, but it's 9 Wall Street. And also, I just want to also plug in there that we're working on live events with players at Tavern on the Rocks in beautiful Rockaway, New Jersey. And also, we'll be selling our T-shirts so we could fundraise to get our $35 million private jet so we could take the podcast, our fans, on the road to watch the Devils play like Toronto or the Devils play Las Vegas, and we just hang out with the guys. But that private jet costs $35 million, so we're going to have to sell a lot of T-shirts to make that happen. And we are taking pre-orders, bulk orders. We don't give discounts on bulk orders because it's going to take a lot to get that jet. But that's the Let's Go Devils podcast jet.
If you if you show a T-shirt, you get a free ride on the jet. Let me tell you, it's gonna be real fancy, real nice, real nice.
Oh, I got to tell Shorts Guy because he joined the Facebook Live. Shorts Guy, put up the link to where you could buy that wonderful T-shirt, the Let's Go Devils podcast T-shirt, because we don't have it right now, so you're gonna have to contribute while you're on special assignment to sell some T-shirts so we could get that $35 million private jet. I'll put it one last time. That's our shameless plug because we hope to retire from our day jobs and just do Devils podcast all day long for you, the fans. And we're going to go out in style. And, unfortunately, we have expensive tastes, so we're going to have to sell a lot of T-shirts.
Not as expensive as, I don't know if you've been keeping tabs on where the Stanley Cup has been going. Ovechkin took it over to Russia and took it into the Kremlin and had a huge party, and they filled it with black caviar.
Wow.
Dude, I tell you what, a lot of props go to Ovechkin. That dude is living it up.
Oh, absolutely.
Living it up. And the really funny thing is, I saw this recently. The cup was at an event in Washington, and apparently a fan was like, "Hey, the table the cup is on is crooked." And so they went over there and no, the table's fine. And they noticed that the Stanley Cup is bent. So the Washington Capitals have managed to bend the Stanley Cup. They're probably able to fix it.
Well, I wonder if it's the ring that's about to come off because, every so often they got to take one of the rings off in order to keep the size to make up more space for, for other teams, after this season and the next 17 seasons, on the Stanley Cup. But if there's a debt in it, hey, you know what? They'll fix it. They'll find a way.
But that's the beauty. That's the beautiful thing about that trophy is if as a Devils fan or a hockey fan, if you've never had the opportunity to see the Stanley Cup in person, it is way more beautiful in person than it is on TV or anything else. It is filled with imperfections. There's dents and scratches, and as beautifully polished as it is, there's misspellings that are X'd out, and players' names that have been X'd out, and all they do is they take a little tool and they punch a bunch of X's on there. It is really the best trophy in all of sports.
Do you know what's the hardest thing? You know what's the hardest thing with the Stanley Cup? Because it's so shiny. With a smartphone, you can't really take a picture of it where you want to get like a player's name, like Scott Stevens when he won in '95 or 2000 or '03, because it's so shiny. Like it's like all a blur. It's really tough to take that picture, because I tried and the guy's like, why don't you just give me your email and I'll send it off to you.
Yeah.
It's like, really? You do that?
I want to address a few things that are so Timothy on our Facebook group is asking if the Devils will be involved in some kind of capacity in the EK deal. The Karlsson deal, we lamented over it for the first half of the podcast. Just to kind of recap about what we were talking about, there are rumors, there is speculation that the Devils are the third team involved that are going to try to facilitate the trade between Ottawa and Tampa Bay. Whether these things are true or not, are from neither here nor there. It's going to be really interesting to see if they are the team. Supposedly they're, as we mentioned earlier, the Devils supposedly are either going to take on Callahan's contract and then also get some other attributes back. They're not looking to just take on Callahan's contract and just be cool with that. They're going to try and take on Callahan's contract and then also bring on either Tyler Johnson. There's been rumors floating around that they'd even be trying to pry Kucherov from Tampa Bay, which means the Devils would have to give up a decent amount in return, which would be sent over to Ottawa. It's very complicated. It's really weird. And to be honest with you, like I said, more than half the things, like 98% of the rumors that you hear out in the world, especially in Twitter, are all garbage. And you just kind of like take everything that you hear with a grain of salt. I can't tell you how many times you saw, even take Tavares, for example, before he signed officially with Toronto, how many times he was going to be a Vegas Knight. He was definitely going to be a Shark. Oh, man, the Sharks already have it signed. Take everything with a grain of salt. If they are, that's great. I feel like Ray would facilitate some kind of move that would be beneficial to the team. His track record shows that. And like I said, anybody that's, jumping up and down and screaming like he hasn't done anything, July 1st came and went, blah, 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 blah. Look at his track record. He has never been known to build a team through free agency. He might kick the tires on somebody. He might try to go after somebody. And if he gets him, he gets him. But for the most part, his free agent signings are usually plug-in guys, Drew Stafford, Toulouse, guys like that, where you can just kind of like plug them in, 1-year contracts here and there.
The profile on Ray Shero is he doesn't waste money. He really doesn't waste money.
He does,
and he does all
these.
He's
not frugal.
He's
not frugal either.
No, he's not. His drafting, his drafting history. I don't know. I think he's average there. But when it comes to trades, and taking, going for a big trade, I think he's very good at that. I think he's more of a wheeler dealer, but when it comes to free agency, he's not going to pay a premium and get mediocre results. So, but yeah, that's my assessment on Ray Shero. I agree with you. I think we want to see him do something amazing. After seeing what he did with Taylor Hall for Adam Larson, I think the expectations got greater. But let me tell you, you have to be patient. Be patient, because it takes a whole organization and teamwork to win a Stanley Cup. And right now, I just hope that they rebuild their farm system. I hope the analytics work. I hate to, I hate saying this, but everybody else is that whole trust the process. You really do have to trust it, because right now we're doing a lot better than what we expected and from last year. And I have to stress that and beat a 10 horse over and over and over and over about that, because I just don't want to see that be a waste for the future. And I'd love to see this team have cap space, young talent, veterans are putting up MVP seasons and winning Stanley Cups over and over and over again.
And what's going to make you a true contender is not just bringing in dead contracts and bringing in guys and just hoping that, veteran, they proved themselves here and they proved themselves there. It's giving younger players a chance too. And that's something that everybody has to, really hold on to. You have a lot of guys that are in the minors that have kind of proven that they're ready to take that next step. If you keep bringing in older players, if you keep bringing in quote unquote veteran leadership, you're going to plug in holes that maybe you should leave, the avenue open for a guy like a Mikey McLeod or a Joey Anderson or, Blake Spears to like come in and actually try to vie for a position in camp. How the hell are you going to know if any of these guys are NHL ready or NHL good if they can't crack the lineup? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you keep bringing in people and just plugging them in and plugging them in and plugging them in, and it seemed like at the end of Lou's tenure, that's a lot of what was happening. There was a lot of like, instead of giving some of these younger guys a chance or even letting our farm system build or replenish itself, there was a lot of like, hey, let's bring in somebody that's quote unquote proven, or let's bring in somebody that, it felt like we were bringing in the constant fourth liner to come and play the second line. Do you know what I mean? It was always like, hey, let's bring in some guy that everybody's giving up hope on. Well, there's a goddamn reason why they give up hope on somebody sometimes, like just let them give up hope. We don't need to necessarily bring in somebody that's already been in the NHL. Like give some of these young kids from the AHL a chance to come in and prove themselves. And sometimes like you give a guy like a Blake Coleman and he shocks you at what he's able to do. So you can see the youth movement is a good thing.
Well, you know what I do like, and I think the Devils, proved this last season. They've got so much speed on their penalty kill and stretching that ice. And, when you're on the kill, there is no icing, and you could really push the puck up. And all those shorthanded chances and all those shorthanded goals, you know what? It was the youth movement that made that happen. Miles Wood, Blake Coleman, all these young guys. I mean, it's a weapon. Like anytime they were, killing a penalty, you just never know if they're going to stretch the ice, get a lucky, breakaway, and have a glorious chance on the opposing team's goalie that's sleeping on the other side. You just didn't know. Yeah. I mean, when they were having success in the beginning of last season, that's exactly what they were doing. They were an offensive threat, on the penalty kill. And, I was actually kind of joking about it when their power play was slumping. It's like, well, why'd you take off a player instead of, and stretch the ice a little bit, this team, again, some of these guys like, Gibbons leaving the team and all. I mean, look, I appreciate his service, but he's not the foundation, nor is he the core or the answer to our prayers for winning a Stanley Cup. He's just not. But, those guys are a dime a dozen. They're going to fight for a spot. They're going to bring their speed, their grit, and they're just going to go 120%. And I'll tell you the reason why. They're going to be playing for a bigger contract. And that's exactly what they're doing. Yeah.
And you hope that's what the motivation is you want to get better and you want to have a guy that comes into camp and it's like chomping at the bit to get to that next level. You also have to have, faith in a lot of the kids that are already in the system. For example, take a look at Pavel Zacha. There's so many people that just want to trade him away. So many people that are like, Get rid of him. Get rid of him. He's not what we thought he was going to be. Blah blah blah. We could have had Barzell. Instead, we got Zaka. Yes. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I look at that and I'm like, damn, we could have had Barzell. Instead, we got Pavel Zaka. I still think that Zaka.
I'm sorry. What about that kid on the Flyers? That defenseman, Ivan Provolov. I mean,
ridiculous.
And they picked seventh, and I'm still pissed. But you never know.
You never know. And that's the point, is you never know. And to be honest with you, like, and Douglas Walker, he says Gibbons wasn't the same after his injury. I agree with that. Yeah, to be honest with you, like, you have to give these young kids a chance to come in and try to make the club and prove themselves and really get themselves into a situation. Pavel Zaka, to me, I feel like hasn't even scratched his potential. I feel like this kid is going to be, I think he's going to be a beast. Like, once he just seems like one of those kids that he needs to kind of like mature a little bit. He needs to kind of like get into the game. And then once he's in the game, he's like really embedded into it and he feels confident and comfortable. He's going to start to blossom, and he hasn't gotten to that point yet. I feel like Hines started to trust him more and more as the season progressed, especially towards the second half of the season. And if this kid realizes his scoring touch, which he had a huge upside coming out of juniors, if he reaches that potential where he can start becoming, more of a scoring threat, and he can bring that two-way game that he started to develop and bring his size, I think he's going to be one hell of a hockey player. The thing is you got to let these kids develop. And sometimes, people want to get rid of somebody because they're like, oh my God, this guy's not doing this and this guy's not doing that. And we need to get rid of this one. We need to get rid of that one. Like we keep saying throughout, the name of the show should have been Be Patient. That's what the name of the show should have been tonight. Expletive patient.
Yeah, I think what we need to do is start creating bits, how to be patient. We have to start doing exercises with our fans about being patient. It's the instant gratification fan base that wants everything done in a short time period with little effort, right? So we've got some comments like Douglas Walker writes, Severson needs to show some drastic improvement this season. I completely agree. Look, defensemen take a little bit more time, not a little bit, take a lot more time to develop.
Heck of a lot.
Into a great defenseman, all-star defenseman. Case in point, Victor
Hedman was the go-to
Hedman,
with that one.
Yeah. Look, I do have concerns that is John Hines the right coach for David Severson? I don't know. Only time will tell. But yes, he has to show some improvements because if I remember correctly, the Oilers were looking at Severson as part of that trade for Taylor Hall, but they settled on Adam Larson. Look, I think he will do just fine. If it's not with the New Jersey Devils, it's going to be elsewhere. I do think that they do need to beef up their blue line. I think they got pushed around a little bit last year, especially towards the end. I think Keith Kincaid stood on his head the last 2 months of the season before the playoffs, and he was a little bit worn out by the time he got to Tampa. I mean, he had a good winning going. He was winning big games. He was making 40, 50 saves, and he was going to Chipotle's, with that blonde girl that was hitting him up on Instagram.
If you follow him on Instagram, Kincaid is a hilarious to follow. He did the whole "What's Up" ad with Burger King and Budweiser. It was really funny. Anyways, Doug and our Doug Sanic in our Facebook group, he said we could have had Forsberg or Horvat. Instead, we got Schneider. Yeah, there's always going to be that in every single draft, guys. That's just
hey. How about
there's always going to be the guy like we took this one and instead we got this one.
I got a good one. How about we lost out on John Karlsson because somebody had a Swedish fetish, David Conti, and picked Matthias Tedeby. I mean, come on. I mean, we could go on and on and on about this. I mean, but think about it. Just think about it, Devils fans. I'm looking at you on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and Periscope. Just think about this. A long time ago, the Devils traded down to get Martin Brodeur and buy, and forgetting about Trevor Kidd. So you win some, you lose some.
They also found
break even on some.
Trust me, there's you can always find that case for tons and tons of guys. Think about it. Erik Karlsson, I think, was number 15 or 16 in his draft. So, guys, it could always be worse. You could be a Senators fan, all right? Let's put it that way.
Yep. Joseph writes, if it wasn't for Keith, we wouldn't have made the playoffs. This past season. Yeah, I completely agree. You need to have good goaltending. He covered up some of the defensive flaws towards the end of last season. He's basically stood on his head.
Yeah, yeah, I like that one. The not so Swedish elite league. Yeah, Kincaid was huge, and then see, this is what's going to happen is there's going to be a lot of debate. The season's going to wear on. The summer's going to wear on. It was really funny because I was looking at a lot of the comments, and somebody before Jake in the Facebook group said, people who complain about not a lot of action are wannabe GMs, and they sit there on these hockey boards and they start talking about like, oh, this, and this, like they're playing NHL 18 or 19. Honestly, it's like you see some of the things that fans say, and it's like, how did we not get, this guy, or how did we not get this guy? And they start freaking out, and it's like they start cursing at the team, and they're like, well, but dude, there's so many more things that go into bringing a player. Think about the other 30 teams or 29 teams that miss out on a player. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
Everybody thinks we're entitled. You know what I mean? Like, everybody thinks that we're entitled to have a player, or that he's definitely going to be coming over to our, to play for the Devils. And it's just like, it is what it is. You win some, you lose some, and sometimes you bring them in, sometimes you miss out on them, and you can't sit here and like I said, you can't sit here and lament on the ones that we missed on.
I was trying to ignore all the experts this week, admittedly, about the whole Erik Karlsson thing, because there were so many scenarios, and it was a little bit too much of information overload. So I tried to be productive this week, and I don't know if we should be talking about this on air, but I started planning the Toronto invasion for Marty's Hockey Hall of Fame ceremony. I really don't know how we're going to get there. Somehow, I feel that Beer Baron, myself, and Shorts Guy is probably going to figure out how to create an international incident try to get to that Hockey Hall of Fame ceremony. We have no idea, but you know what I did find? Went on Airbnb. Did you see my text this week that I found a studio apartment that had like 3 or 4 bedrooms for $16 a night?
I bet it's fantastic.
And you know what? And just to be a jerk, I actually messaged the person. Is that $16 Canadian or $16 US? Because right now it's like a 30% discount right now.
Call it even. You know what I mean? What's like that? I said, can we bring him a Crave case from White Castle and just call it even? So Solomon in our Facebook group just brought up a really good point. He said that, without every player, we didn't make the playoffs last year. He said Nick Lappin's goal was just as important as Taylor Hall's goal. Kincaid's save was just as important as, Corey Schneider's save. That's 100% true. You don't make the playoffs if everybody's not all in and everybody, is buying into the system and everything doesn't click correctly. I mean, sometimes you'll have shining moments, and I guess you could say that as a fan. Like, you sit there and you say, hey, if we didn't have this guy, we wouldn't make the playoffs. I'm pretty sure if we didn't have Taylor Hall, we wouldn't have made the playoffs. But at the same time, that is a really good statement. Like, and I do agree with that, where everybody is just as important as the other guy. Each shift, each goal, each save is just as important as the other. A win in October counts just as much as a win in April. And you saw it when it was coming down to the wire, when you had Florida nipping at our heels. It was like, damn, those games that the Devils let slip away, are they going to catch us, a game that we let slip away in November? Is that going to end up biting us in the ass? Or like, hey, that winning streak that we had in the middle of December, is that going to end up pushing us over the edge and helping us get into the playoffs?
Jake Wakely wrote, I'll be in attendance for the Devils versus Leafs. Yeah, we're going to have to figure out how to get tickets, Beer Barrett. I don't know how this trip is going to go, but what would be nice, okay, we're selling our T-shirts. Yeah, we're selling our T-shirts right now, and in order to help fund our trip to Canada, to Toronto for Marty's Hockey Hall of Fame ceremony. We don't know how we're going to get in, but we're going to figure it out. We want to buy this $35 million private jet full of Let's Go Devils podcast fans. We'll have a contest, and we'll try to fit everybody in our $16 a night flat in Toronto. Can you imagine? We have a $35 million jet going to a foreign country. We got our passports, and where do we stay? Is it the Sheraton? Is it the whatever hotel? No, we stay at a $16 a night flat somewhere in Little Italy, Toronto, to go see Marty Brodeur. Yeah.
So Eric asked, other than EK, do you see the Devils trying to make any other trades or something along those lines? Do I see them making a trade? I have a feeling that Ray Shero is up to something. In my gut, I would say yes. What that trade will be, I have no idea, because who thought that he'd be bringing in Taylor Hall? I remember when that happened. I almost damn near jumped through the roof of my car. So who knows? Who knows who they're going to bring in? Who knows what kind of trade they're going to make? There's a lot of speculation that Carolina is looking to move Falk and get rid of his contract, even though he's a great defenseman. They want to just clear up some space, and they're already so defensive heavy. For whatever reason, they're trying to get rid of Skinner too, or at least that's the rumblings that are coming out of Carolina. The Skinner is on the move, and that I would love to have him on the Devils. Why they're trying to get rid of him is beyond me. That dude is super talented, puts up 30 goals in a year like it's nothing. Other than that, you got to think that he's going to make some kind of move to tighten up the defense. You don't know. Who knows? Did you see Adam Henrique? I'll ask you this, Eric. Did you see Adam Henrique getting shipped out for Sami Vatanen? Did anybody in our Facebook or Periscope or anywhere, did any of you guys see Adam Henrique getting traded? And if you did, you're full. Don't say it. Don't say it, because I know what you're going to say, and I'm telling you, there was very little people that saw that coming. Very little.
I said that on episode 1, season 1, last season. I have the I have the tape somewhere, but no, I'm just kidding. No, I don't think anybody predicted that. And things were going well in the beginning of the season, and the main concern about trading Adam Henrique is what was that going to do with the team chemistry. I know Melissa Dawn, I would like to say our producer, one of the producers of the Let's Go Devils podcast, asked Grant Marshall and asked Bruce Schreiber about the same thing. Like, how does that change the dynamics of the locker room? What does that mean? Why now, when the team was doing pretty well? And
it was right after his big event.
Yep, right after his soiree.
He had that Movember soiree, and he had this huge event, and it was like the next day he got shipped out. And there's no one. There's nobody that could have seen that coming. A few people.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I'm getting communication from Shorts Guy that he wants the number to call in. Should we set it up? You're gonna have to go solo for a little bit. Yeah, you want to go solo? Okay. Why don't you let me put the camera on you solely as I try to put Shorts Guy on air. Okay.
All right. So yeah, fine. So let me put this out to anybody that's listening, especially to our friends that are on the Facebook group. I'm going to put this out there to you right now. The question was given to us: who do we see the Devils going after? Right. So let me reverse that and ask everybody out there: what what trade do you want to see the Devils go after? And let's be realistic. All right. Let's not say, they're going to go get Malkin or something like that. What trade do you feel that the Devils could make, or what trade do you feel like they can make, or what trade do you want to see them make? I know probably almost anybody's going to say that they want to see, defensive help come back, which is true. But then where are you going to get that defensive help from? And you got to think about it like this. As a fan, one of the things that we always say is like we want to get Erik Karlsson, but we don't want to give up anything to get him. And that's one of the crazy things about being a fan, is because you don't realize when you want a superstar to come back to your team, the amount that you're going to have to give up for him. To be honest with you, I would like to see the Devils try to go after either Trouba in Winnipeg, or try to go after, maybe not a top line talent defenseman or top 2 defenseman, but try to get somebody that could fit right into that top 4, and try to make it, a solid move that's going to shore up the team. Could they try and go after another scoring winger? Sure. Do they want to let one of the younger guys come in and try to fill that void, or let, one of the younger guys come in and fill in one of the, bottom 6 positions and let somebody like Miles Wood or Jesper Bratt really, hold on to a second line position? Sure. I just feel like whatever Ray's going to do, whatever Ray Shero is going to do, it's going to be something that's going to really bolster this team and not damage the future. So, like I said, the question goes out to you guys. Who do you think? And I'm looking at my phone. I'm waiting for people to start chiming in. Who do you think, or who do you want the Devils to go after? Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to point this out. Douglas Walker just pointed out something really good. Vatanen will be better in year 2, just like Hall did. That's 100% true, too. So that goes back into something else that we were talking about last week. If you have a player that you brought in, we brought in Sami Vatanen. He struggled when he first got to the Devils because you're learning a brand new system. You're in a brand new coast. You're uprooting your family. You have to come over here. You're basically like uprooting your entire life. It's way easier for a winger to jump in and just click right away than it is for a defenseman to jump in and click right away. So hopefully, year 2, he's going to be a heck of a lot better. He showed that towards the end. So Doug says, I've been saying this for 2 years now. Santini needs to play. Yes, he made mistakes, but he needs to learn from them. And how are you going to do that if you don't play? And I agree with that 100%. Steven Santini, I think, is going to be one of those kids that can be a physical presence in the back end. I feel like he's going to be taking that next big step and could be a huge asset for the Devils this year. Hopefully, if you think about it, he might also be somebody that could be packaged in a deal. I'm not saying I want this to happen, but he could be packaged in a deal to try and get either an already established defenseman or somebody, or some scoring help. So this is all up in the air. We're getting to the point right now where you have from now until October 6th, right? October 6th it is.
Yep.
Yeah, from now until October 6th to help figure this out. And if they can figure it out, if they don't make a single move from now until October 6th, I would be shocked. That's pretty much what I'm saying.
So we don't have Shorts guy on the line because as soon as I was about to patch him in, he was in a dead spot on the subway in New York City, somewhere in beautiful New York. I blame the Rangers on that. You know how they do their trains and all that. Hey, I know we're in overtime right now, and I just want to get Shorts guy on the podcast for a couple minutes, but has anybody heard anything about the relocation of Madison Square Garden? I mean, they're supposed to be kicked out in 6 years? Has there any been?
It's gonna.
I don't know.
Nothing's gonna happen. There was also like a 24-hour rumor that that they were going to be for sale. So okay, thank you, Terry, because I've been saying this too. So Santini could be a package deal for Falk. You're getting an established defenseman back in return for somebody that's could be considered I don't know if he'd be considered a blue chip prospect, but he'd be considered a decent return back and somebody that has a bright future. See, okay, so Juan says, to be honest, I was surprised Ray didn't make a move on Oliver Ekman-Larsson when he was still available. He wasn't really going anywhere, and he kind of basically said after he signed his extension that he had no intention of going anywhere else, that he, for whatever, good for him, he thoroughly enjoys playing for Arizona. That would have been a huge get if they could have gotten OEL. So I don't know. Sometimes you probably like go out there and you ask the questions, and then what you're getting, the answers in return don't work. So I think that's what happened with OEL.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll do a station identification. The last one of the night.
Good, because my voice has killed me.
Yeah, this is the Let's Go Devils podcast, season 1, episode 40. You can find us on letsgodevils.com, streaming live audio. You can also find our podcast after the podcast, about a few hours after the podcast is done. You can find us on Facebook Live. Like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Let's Go Devils podcast. Also, we have a Let's Go Devils Facebook group. Melissa does a nice job putting articles and links up, and people are commenting. And I've seen some great pictures, photos in that group. Also, you can find us on Twitter, Periscope at Let's Go Devils Pod. Again, the handle is at Let's Go Devils Pod. And also, you can find us on YouTube Live. We have our YouTube Live channel, which, by the way, I keep on neglecting our YouTube Live fans, but I've been seeing like comments and questions in the chat room of YouTube Live. So we're going to have to do something about that. Talk to the fans over there, Beer Baron. I'm still waiting for Shorts Guy to get back to us about plugging him in. We got the phone lines already set, but we'll extend this podcast. Just give him a couple more minutes. But if not, I mean, it kind of sucks. He texts us, "Hey, I want to come on. Can we get the phone in?" And I text him back, "Hey, I'm not set up, but let me just transfer it over to Beer Baron." As soon as I have it set up, he's like, "Oh, I'm on the subway now, and I'm going to lose signal."
So just to give you guys an update on Patrick Maroon, as I'm getting news into me right now, Patrick Maroon, it's not 100% that he's going to be going to St. Louis, that there is, quote, still another team that is heavily involved in the mix. So don't mark off Maroon as being gone, I suppose. There's a slight chance that he still might be coming back. And anybody that poo-poos that whole statement and says that he's overrated, you might want to double check that. Patrick Maroon, I think, would be a great addition to this team. Another one that I feel like if he's in the system for a long time, that what about Barkov? Sorry, Douglas, that is true. Barkov from Florida would be a huge get as well. I agree. But yeah, so Patrick Maroon could possibly still be in the mix. So I know that's not a Karlsson kind of signing, but hey, I think he's a great addition to the team. I think he's a stand-up person, and I feel like he would be. I feel like he'd be great to be a Devil. So let's see. I'm trying to. Oh my God! By the way, Islander fans need to stop offering people food to stay on the team or to like come to the team. Apparently, Karlsson was offered a lifetime of chicken parm.
Wait, what's that?
So some dude was like, he's like, I will give Eric Karlsson a lifetime supply of chicken parm if he if he comes to the Islanders.
Oh my goodness!
Come on, I think some people were just messing around because you heard about the guy that offered Tavares lifetime bagels if he stayed.
Well,
place your bets. By the way, okay, I need to put this out there in the universe. We need to get somebody on this onto our podcast that I think would be an awesome guest to have. He's a Devils fan, and he's also one of the funniest dudes in the world. Brian Quinn from the Impractical Jokers. If we can make this happen, I kind of,
do you know him?
I'm just saying, I think he would be an awesome guest to have on the show. I know we're digressing and we're kind of like in 15 minutes overtime right now.
We're only staying on because Shorts Guy wanted to come on air.
Would you say? I just missed it. What?
No, I'm just saying the only reason why we're still going is because Shorts Guy wants to go on air. We're trying to stretch it out as long as we can. But people are starting to file back in on Facebook Live and Periscope and YouTube Live. So I don't know how long we're going to stretch it, but I'm just about to call him and say, you know what? If the call drops, it call drops. You're on the subway right now. What do you want us to do? All right, so I'll turn it back to you for about a couple minutes. Let me call him and say, this is your last shot.
Okay.
All right, so I'll turn it back to you.
So... what's going on, guys? We're at the point right now where it's just we've hit kind of like a breaking point where we're trying to wait for Shorts Guy to come in. What you don't understand is we have other things or other obligations that are going on. So hopefully he can get on because I really want to hear about the match that he went to today. Getting back to hockey, one of the few things that I was just kind of like going through a couple of my different sources and also like jumping onto other, social media outlets and just trying to figure out if there's been any kind of rumblings. One of the things I noticed about this whole Karlsson thing is it picks up super momentum. Everything starts going nuts. And then all of a sudden everything starts to die down. It seems like everything kind of cooled off after there was like all this speculation. There's people saying that it was a done deal and not just like people like me or, fans of of the NHL or like people that just have a, phony baloney accounts. There's like guys from like TSN. There's guys from, very reliable sources that were saying that the whole Karlsson deal was completely done, that everything was going to be, signed, sealed, and delivered, that, any moment he was going to be going to Tampa Bay and he was going to be playing with Victor Hedman and they were going to make the greatest defensive pairing in the world. And, Tampa Bay was going to be handed the cup, even though the season hadn't even started yet. And then everything just died down. If I was going to do the show for my favorite tattoo parlor, wow, I can't talk anymore. For my favorite tattoo parlor, the tattoo parlor would be my wife's, which is Working Class Tattoo in Branchburg, New Jersey. So if you're looking to get a tattoo, go to Working Class Tattoo in Branchburg, New Jersey. Any of the artists there are absolutely incredible. Nice little plug for them too. Are you there, Sam? Because I don't hear you. Well,
yeah, sorry. I was about to say, if you go to that tattoo parlor, just mention the Let's Go Devils podcast sent you there, and I'm sure that we'll get a little donation to our dreams of having that $35 million blade to Toronto.
Yeah.
All right.
By the way, the only thing that annoys me about that picture every time it comes up is that guy's not wearing socks.
Well, it makes it extra ridiculous. All right, Beer Baron, we can't wait for Shorts Guy forever. I think we should pull the plug.
I think so.
Well, we tried. We tried to stretch it. We'd like to thank all the listeners, viewers, tuning in to Let's Go Devils podcast. We're here every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern on letsgodevils.com, Facebook Live, Twitter, Periscope, and YouTube Live. And, this is a all right. Well, this was a great podcast. Yeah, this is a podcast that went on to overtime and this and that, but I think we stretched it quite a bit. All right, well, I guess actually I got to cue the music. I forgot about that, Beer Bird. I forgot. I've got to cue the music. Hold on one sec here. Hopefully I got the levels right. I can't even find the levels on my board. How come it's not playing?
Oh, my God. I was just...
Oh, there you go.
Hey, thank you, Kevin Weeks. Always nice to have you guys come back. Douglas, Kevin, all you guys, thank you guys very much for always joining us every week. We look forward to doing this show. We look forward to, interacting with all of you guys. I think that's one of my favorite parts about the whole show is just being able to kind of just talk hockey and actually get interactions with people from around the world, apparently, which we found out last week. So if you want, tweet or text us or tweet us, text us. Send us a message on Facebook Live. Let us know where you're listening from. Because we always find it interesting when we find out that people are listening from across the seas or around the world. So let us know where you guys are listening from. Thank you very much. We totally appreciate it. Couldn't do it without you.
Yep. Till next time, Devils fans, let's go Devils.